4.0 has brought about some pretty significant turret changes, the most significant being auto gimbal. This video isn't all about auto gimbal, but it's going to be something I want to cover a little bit later. But let's start with the basics. First and foremost, you're going to go to game settings, and you're going to want to make sure that your turret settings, which are the first 3 right here, are to your liking. You always want to have your dead zone down to 0. This one I don't think is negotiable. However, for the yaw and pitch degrees, you can adjust these however you want. If you have it all the way down to 4.0, it's going to be a lot snappier and more sensitive. And if you have it, for example, all the way at 25, it's going to require a bit more input and movement to get what you want. I personally play at 4.0, but you have to do what works best for you. Another very useful hotkey that you should be aware of is the turret centering. By default, that key is C. So right now we're facing the rear of the hammerhead, and let's say the pilot says that there's something to the front. Instead of doing this, which is a bit more annoying and a lot less precise, I simply hold down C, and it automatically centers and slews a turret to wherever the ship is looking at. Another useful key to remember and keep in mind is relative mode. By default, we are not in relative mode, we are in Vjoy. So let's say we're trying to be more precise, we're trying to aim at these targets right here. This is not too bad on Vjoy, but it's not as precise. So we swap to relative by pressing Q by default, and you can now see that we have a lot more finer control over these targets. So this is much better for precise shooting. I tend to use a combination of the two, dynamically. The next setting is Gyro. By default, Gyro is on. Think of it as a stabilizer. It keeps your turret stable, independent of the ship's movement. I do not see why you would ever want to turn this off, however, if you do, the default key is E. Now the gyro is off, you can see that in the upper left there, and now the gyro is on. And finally, I want to talk about the gimbal modes. By default, you are set to auto gimbal. This should be where you spend most of your time. If you wish to change your gimbal mode, the default key is G. We have fixed mode, which acts like any type of fighter ship. When you're not using the gimbals, it goes wherever you're pointing. It's fixed. The gimbals are fixed. They do not move. The next mode is manual. Manual will have the crosshair going off of the turret, so you're actually controlling the gimbals on here yourself. This is somewhat useful. It's not that bad. I could see myself sometimes using this. And finally, we have automatic mode, and this is what has been changed or added. This is where you will spend most of your time. So anything that is in the circle of a target here, like for example this, the gimbals will automatically try and track it. So now I'm going to swap over to some combat footage that shows it in action. I want you to pay attention to the green circle and what I'm shooting, and how I'm aiming, and how the gimbals are automatically tracking the target. That was pretty good, right? So now let me show you what it looks like when you're doing fixed mode. It looks pretty much like any other standard mode you're used to.
Shields hit.
Oh, and before I forget, you have precision mode. Precision mode is activated by pressing right click. So you kind of zoom in a little bit there. When you select a target, it'll automatically zoom in on your target. This is used primarily for sub-targeting components. I don't use it very often. It doesn't seem to always work. But all you would have to do is aim. It's supposed to highlight it, but it's not doing that right now. But all you would have to do is aim at, say, the engines. This is more useful against bigger ships, so you may find a use for it. But I don't think it's that great. And there you have it. Turrets are, in my opinion, officially back. I'll always say they could be just a little bit better, but they are a lot better than what they used to be. I would say now is probably a pretty good time to learn how to turret gun. Thank you for watching.